Okay, guys. So for another episode, we have Susan Nardi with us, and she's a fabulous tennis coach. Susan, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I've been coaching for a long time. Long time. It all depends on where you want to say that I really started because my coach started having me help him out with lessons when I was about 12, 13 years old.
Wow, that is an early
Um,
start.
yeah, he had me help him out with the little kids classes. And by the time I was 15, I was running the little kids classes. And then I got older, I was helping him with tournaments. And by the time I was 20, I was running my name was on the as tournament director with him, and he would just hand me the stuff, but I was teaching adults in the junior program and all that. So I've been doing this for a long time. I've done like a couple of other things where I've worked in a bank because, my one sister convinced me I had to have a real job.
I
And
know, right? That is one of the things you always hear, like, when are you getting a real job? But if
it
something
was
pays your
only
bills, as far as I'm concerned, it is a real job.
Oh yeah, they have no idea. And my mom always said to everybody that this is what I was going to do because she loves it so. But from my in-laws to everybody else, to that one sister, my other sisters always knew that this is what I was probably going to do. But everybody else, when are you going to get a real job? And it's like, okay, just because I love what I do, and I don't work, I go play and whatever, that's okay. Just because you're jealous, it's okay. It's okay. I'm okay with
Sure.
Yeah, because I go have fun. So, but yeah, so that's kind of the basics. Been I worked at Vandermeer's, I've college coached, I've high school coached, I've ran my own franchise business, I've with tennis, I've run academies, I've been a director of tennis at a couple of different places from besides First Break Academy in Carson. I've also was the tennis director down at Achievable Dream in Newport News to the All Army tennis coach. I mean, there's not a lot I haven't done. So
Right.
in my career, I've pretty much done a little bit of everything. A jack of all
Okay.
trades.
Now you had created like this kids academy or a mommy and me type of kids
Mhm.
classes, and what is that like? Like, what were those classes like?
Oh, they were hysterically funny. Um, I have so I came up with, you have to have your marketing like thing of how you're going to approach your business. And so I took mine as a family-based programming has always been like one of the things that I like. And I love teaching the little ones because they're hysterical. And so I came up with a concept with a good friend of mine, Jonathan Hertliner, who's is from St. Louis, but at the time was out in LA with me. And we called it Mommy, Daddy, and Me Tennis. And it started with Pam Austin, when I worked for her at the Riviera Country Club, wanted to do a project together. And Pam and I are quite fond of each other. And so we came up with this concept of this class, and we brought the parents in and we taught the parents how to, work with their kids on the court because they become the perfect practice partner. And they're almost like they're your assistant coaches, and you're helping them know what to do and what not to do and how to talk and how to do all that. And Pam's like, after we did this, this 4-week session, says, Susan, this is you. Just run with it. So Jonathan and I took it as a business concept, and I would have going across, a standard tennis court, I'd have, 3 mini nets on one side, 3 mini nets on the other, and I'd have sometimes I'd have like 2 mini nets and the string in between. And, I always had the nets that were up higher that you could roll balls underneath and such. And I would have with every kid, a parent had to be on the court. So I would have 12 kids and 12 parents out there. And I would
What's that like? Is that a little
oh,
chaotic or?
yeah, it's not that bad. I mean, it might sound like controlled chaos, but it's really not, it's not that bad. And I give them, it's almost like being a PE teacher where I'm running, I'm walking around and I'm facilitating. Usually I'll try to have like a high school kid that has personality with me, just so there's two of us on two different ends
Yes.
walking around. And um showing them, okay, here's the theme for the day. The theme is this. And I usually try to make it musical based because I notice when you look at whether it's Sesame Street or Dora the Explorer or any of these kids shows, it's all musical based. So I kind of, I act crazy and I sing and I dance and get the kids into it and the parents into it and make it so that it's fun. And what I noticed from a business standpoint, so if you use the mathematical model of I have 12 kids, I have 12 micro assistant coaches, and I'm getting at that time this is a while back, I was getting $20 a head. Well, that's good money. I mean,
20 times 12. Yeah. For a
yeah,
whole
I mean, I'm
hour.
clearing over $200 an hour, and I would run a couple of those classes a week. And then what would happen from there is I started to fill up, like the parents would start to take adult beginner classes or cardio tennis classes or
Sure.
come into my drill classes. And then the older siblings would come. And then, grandparents would come. And it just became this whole other entity. And when it kind of got a life of its own is when Pastor Bob Kraft, who used to be the pastor for the men's and women's tours back in the day, he came and saw me, and he was living in Hong Kong at the time. And he saw this and he just was like, wow. And it's to me, it's just, it's a fun thing. It's a no-brainer kind of thing because you want to give parents the opportunity to understand what it's like to be a sports parent. Because I used to joke with everybody when my son was chronically ill and on dialysis, I said, these beans come out of our body. We get a toaster, we get a manual. We buy a computer, we get a manual. Now it's online, but you buy everything, you get a
A
manual.
car. Yeah.
Yeah,
The
everything.
stove.
When my
Everything is
son got on
manual except
dialysis,
parenting.
yeah, when my son got on dialysis, I had a manual, but like how to do like the things that I really needed to know how to do, it's trial and error. And hopefully your parents taught you right and you had good role models. So I'm trying to help these parents become good sports parents. And if they're good sports parents, hopefully we lead them down a successful path. And so I tried to create a really fun, positive culture of learning and, to teach them, it's okay to make mistakes, and teach the parents how to emotionally fill their kids' tanks up with positive. And so that's
So
what
how can a parent, when the kid's first learning tennis, they're like 3 or 4 years old, how can a parent what can a parent do to help the kid when the kid's first learning? If the parent isn't really a tennis player, what can the parent do to help the kid when they're like 3 or 4 years old?
a lot of times it's just rolling the ball on the ground or trying to bounce it and teach them how to catch the ball so they can find the balls with their hands, helping them with throwing it, laughing, just making it fun. Because if they make it like it's work or a job, or they freak out when they make a mistake, they'll kill it. That'll kill it. So,
I mean, it's all about, right? Feeling okay about making a mistake. You can
yeah.
feel safe to try new things.
Exactly. And what people don't understand is if you're not making mistakes, you're really not learning, and learning is making mistakes. And so I want the kids to make mistakes and try things and figure it out and encourage them. To me, being a perfectionist is just insecurity, and you've got to stretch yourself. So uh, I think cultivating that kind of environment and keeping the parents aware. They're 3, they're 4. They're not going to be pros at this age. We're not worried about that. We just want them to have a positive experience and a positive mindset. And they may love tennis. Tennis might be one of their activities. They may go to another sport. They may come back to tennis. You just don't know, but they'll find you just wanting them to find their passion. And as a parent, you want to have that good relationship with your kid. Because, we've all seen, and where you are, we've all seen stressed out parents with sports, and they all take it like it's about them. It's not about you. Just be mom, be dad, be supportive.
So what's like a good activity to do with like 3 and 4 year olds where they're having fun, but they're still learning some skills in your mind? What makes a good activity?
where there's learning involved. Like you can take something as silly as if you wanted to um roll balls on the ground and the kid has to move and do London Bridge and it has to go in between their legs and then they're learning
Yeah,
to move
they do that
back
a
and
lot.
then you do it to the other side and moving it to go back. You can do things as fun as we'll play a game called Bob the Builder, and we're set up cones and they have to throw it at, throw the balls, like maybe they're doing an overhead throw and learning how to throw the ball overhead. Sometimes kids have a hard time with it because they have a hard time with things over their head. And trying to knock down cones. Maybe you're playing a tossing catching game where you have the cone and they're having to catch scoops of ice cream, because they're learning to track the ball that way. You can create anything, and the crazier your imagination is, the better that they like it. I mean, I can hear a song on the radio before I
Yeah.
hit the club, and all of a sudden, that's the name of it. And one of the classic things that I nearly got in trouble for is I was working at the Riv, and it's when Arnold Schwarzenegger was governor of California. And I was when I was hearing Arnold, my name is Arnold Schwarzenegger. I am the governor of the state of California.
Yeah.
So I'm out there and I've got foam balls and here, and I says, I am here to pump you up. Everybody learn my favorite bodybuilding, and I'm going, and little did I know I do this whole routine. And I go, okay, 1985, I married the beautiful Maria Shriver. And I go, yeah, Maria. And I swear it was like a minute later, Maria Shriver walks by the court. It was,
Holy
and
crap.
I was just like going, had no idea. I should have thought they might, So,
But why would it occur to you that she might walk by the court? Like,
well, because management, upper management, I don't think was that thrilled with me. And then one of the ladies that used to sit beside the court always used to take notes. Some British lady, I didn't really know who she was. I don't pay attention. I'm there, I'm teaching my class. I'm thinking about my kids. I found out that the British lady, that she comes up later and says, "Oh yeah, I talked to the club. Everything's fine. Everything cool. I get my best ideas from you." I was like, "Oh, thank you." And she goes, "Oh, she says, "Oh, I love watching you. It helps me get creative." I was like, "Oh, okay." I didn't realize that was Tracy Ullman.
oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, I
Fabulous
thought
got
it
some
was
kind
funny.
of stories like this.
Yeah, I'm
But
like, "Okay, okay." So, and that's when she was doing her one woman show, so I'm, like, fearful of watching it thinking, "Oh, no, what did she pick up from
like
me?"
if
I
she's
might
gonna
write.
take something from you and it's gonna end up, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's kinda funny that anybody would get inspiration out of my, chaos on the court of just having fun and, so, but yeah, that was one of the more lighter stories of me just being a total goofball on the court, playing with kids and creating something. So that's usually what happens. My best moments are, I can't tell you where I came up with the idea. All of a sudden it's like, oh, where did I come up with that? Oh, that's kind of cool. And then I try to write it down so I don't forget it. But yeah.
I mean, and a lot of it is just being charismatic and
Yeah.
putting on a show. And I've had lots of people that were in the entertainment industry and, looking for a side job to keep them above water. And
Yeah.
they've always really done well at capturing the kids' attention. So when a kid's trying to like develop skills, like what can they do to get better? If you're a kid and you're struggling a little, what can you do to get better?
I think you just play. And
Hmm.
I just think you play. I think my phrase has always been the best learning happens when it's a byproduct of play. And so, I mean, when you think about it, why did you play with Legos? Why did you do this? Well, you're playing, you're building, you're creating, why do we play games like Connect Four or checkers? We're learning. And
Right.
so I just think you play, and it's like when you look at kids and why they play video games, they play. We don't know what, they're playing a video game. Okay, they can make a mistake and then they hit reset and then they play more. And my son used to be notorious for going on YouTube and watching YouTube videos on what was the next phase and how you get past this or whatever, and to help them and guide them. So I think you just allow kids to play and learn and make mistakes and encourage them, to figure it out, or and that's kind of what happens. So I think when society says you fail, you're horrible, that's the worst thing we can do. I mean, I go back and I think about Thomas Edison and how many times he failed to make the incandescent light bulb, over
I mean,
800
what's
times.
another story? There are so many stories like that of people failing at the beginning and like being cut from teams and everything like that. I know, like the first match I played, I probably was lucky I won one game. So
Yeah.
what's a way if a kid maybe is struggling to connect with the ball? What are some ways they can be helped?
I think, for me, I've noticed it's something that I've learned from Oscar Wagner is a lot of times people don't know how to find the ball. And I look at it from the child's perspective. When I was 3, and I still have this memory, my dad, when I finally got a chance to play tennis, I was like 3 and a half, and my dad took a laundry marker, and today it's called a Sharpie, and drew rabbit ears on the ball. And my dad had already deflated the balls, and he'd taken an old Davis Tad racket and sawed it off and gripped it. And he goes, "Susan, today you get to be Elmer Fudd." And he held up the ball. He goes, "And this is the wascally wabbit. And so you're going to get to go hunting in the woods and find a wascally wabbit and be very quiet. And then when you find it, boom." And so I didn't, I was just learning to make contact. And I've taken that concept, and to help kids in the beginning, the big thing I do is rolling the ball on the ground. Like first I started from a stationary on the ground and having them roll it, having them roll it to me, and then where I will roll it to them, so that you're trying to track it with their eyes to their hand and do that.
Right.
And then I start doing rock and roll tennis where the ball is dribbling a little bit. And
Right.
I said, "And the hip hop, the hibbit, the hip hop, hibbity ho, don't stop." And they'll touch it, and then they laugh and they think it's funny. And then
Because it's
and do it like that. And then I'll do the one bounce, and then I'm singing Van Halen Jump. So, uh,
I
I try
love
to,
it.
yeah, I just try to make it so that it's fun, and try to go and cut the learning gradient from up here all the way down to the bottom, and then just slowly add it. Because a lot of times, you know, hand-eye coordination is a skill, and you have to develop that skill.
What's
And
a skill?
hand-eye coordination is a skill. And I was lucky that, my mom wasn't a tennis player with where she grew up in Kentucky, but her brothers were big time basketball players. And she was an amazing athlete. And so she would always toss and throw balls to me and roll things. So I just got used to balls coming at me when I was really little. And so mine was pretty developed by the time I walked out on the court. But I think that progression of going from a still ball on the ground to a rolling ball to a ball that just bounces, and then a ball that, and you cut down the bounces to where it's just one. You just teach them to touch the ball and put it, I call it, when you finish, I call it put it in their backpack. Because when they do that, I start, doing the door dance. Yeah,
I
because
mean, it's all about if it feels like lively and it feels fun, then
yeah, they'll
people
do
can
it.
accept the difficulties more and the challenges more.
Yeah, they'll be able to do it. I've never had anybody not be able to do it.
Wow. And
So.
so when you're looking at a kid playing, right? And what are some things to look for in terms of like improvement and how they can improve?
I think, and it varies from individual to individual. I had a group of kids that I've pretty much started in Carson at First Break. And, from kids that couldn't even make contact or hit the side of the barnyard. And now they're able to rally back and forth over a red net, and full red net, full 36, not something shorter, but full 36.
Right.
And they can serve and they can rally and they can score. And the parents just get all googly eyed and go, because they can see them being able to rally longer and do all that. And, it's like, holy cow. And so mine, from an educational standpoint, is teaching them, okay, well, now to get to the orange class, I need them to be able to hit these benchmarks. And then I can move them up to a court space with a ball that's 25% faster and a court space that's 94% larger. I said, it's a big difference. And so it's not a race to get to a yellow ball. It's not a race to get to anything. I need them to be able to do these things. And so I usually go through and check off, and I'll give them an evaluation form. I have several.
You give
And
it to the parents.
I give it to the parents and say, this is where your child is presently at. And we're working on these things to help get them to the next level. And and as much as I'm interested in the physical component, I'm also really interested in the tactical element of it.
Sure.
Do they understand cross court versus down the line? Are they able to do that? But I'm
Yeah.
also really interested in this. Can they manage mistakes? What's their attitude? What's their
Nothing.
effort? What's
So,
their sportsmanship like? Those are the things that matter.
so what are some ways in a class you can teach the mental aspects of a game in a group tennis lesson? What are some ways the mental aspect can be taught?
Well, when we were on the court on Friday, because I was, they had a camera crew down, a film crew, so I was getting filmed.
Damn.
Yeah, which is fun, interesting, and my vocal cords are still recovering from all that.
I bet.
Um, and so we had rock and roll tennis, and we focused on two ladies. We focused on Janet Jackson, who is the tactical person. Uh, and Janet was all about 1985, her first album. Do you remember the name of it?
No.
I'm in control when I hit my ground stroke. So we were working on controlling rallies and going back. And then these mental emotional part was Aretha Franklin. And we were learning about RESPCT, and we were learning about the roots, which is respect of officials, opponents, teammates, and selves. And so
Nah, so you don't glare at the ump and curse out the ump, because I thought that was the way to go.
yeah, and so I made it like this. I said, okay, we're gonna do the Queen of Soul, and we're gonna talk about the respect that you show your teammates and the respect that you have for yourself. And and this is how you honor the game. And so we talk about those things a lot. And hey, if you make a mistake, no big deal. And I talk about that so much. And I said, what do we do about, I said, what if we make a mistake? And you all hear them, it's no big deal. And we talk about, hey, if your opponent makes a good shot, just tell them, say, hey, great shot. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just being a
So
kind.
you do different activities to practice these skills in
Oh,
class.
absolutely. All the time. All the time.
I mean, because in a way, we can't afford to ignore the mental aspects of the game. Because when you play a
can't.
game, it's not someone feeding a ball right to you and then you get to show them your perfect form. And there's a lot of strategy involved in the game.
Yeah. And
I think that keeps kids interested too.
I do too. And we're teaching them beyond a sport. We're teaching them everything that they learn through tennis will help them be a better, well-adjusted child and going into adulthood. That how you manage your mistakes, how do you calm yourself down when things aren't going well? How do you handle, I had one of my kids named Sydney, who had a private, and it was a windy day. And we talked about, well, these are things that are out of our control. And how do we handle things that are out of our control? that are out of us. How can we handle this? Well, let's see which way's the wind blowing. Okay, well, how's that going to affect the ball? Let's play with this. And so that she learns how to solve problems. And I tell the older kids this all the time. I said, people get angry and frustrated when something's not going right and they don't have a solution for it and they don't know how to think about solving it. And, so we need to work on controlling this headspace here because the more and not letting outside things bother us. So it's
Because
something that
it's
keeps all the
true. We can only control some things. Other things you can't control. Like whatever your opponent does, you can't control it. Maybe
Mm,
your opponent has a great day and they hit all 100-mile-an-hour aces. And we're talking about like more advanced players. And you can't make your opponent hit the serve slower. You can just figure out how you can do your best to return it.
yeah,
And one of the things that's always been weird to me is that when we're like kids and we go to school, the teachers try to control us so much and you can't do this, you can't do that. Yet when you're an adult, you learn the sad lesson that you can't really control what other people do. But
yeah,
as a kid, it's always been ironic to me, but as a kid, you're in first grade and they tell you can't do this, you can't do that. You're absolutely under their control when you're like going to school. But I think the real part is when you learn like how to solve problems, then you can figure out any number of different puzzles. But teaching kids like how to proactively think about how to solve a problem is what's going to build, champion level players.
I think
And
so too.
once you think of a solution, then the mental aspect improves. Like then you're not so like, oh my God, what's happening to me? How am I losing to this match? I can't lose to this girl. You stop thinking about it if you figure out what you can do better.
Yeah. Yeah, and I the when they start to get in that orange green dot level, we talk about what they like to do, how they like to win their point, what do they not do well. We talk about, okay, what does that person do well? What do they struggle with? Okay, put your strength against their weakness. And we talk about the strategy of it. Okay, well, how do you handle it when the score is this? Calling the score out loud. I talk a lot. You know what my pet peeve is? And I call it the Mildred rule because that was my mom's name. My mom, when she came to the match and she barely knew how to keep score in tennis, she wanted to know the score. And I needed to say the score loud enough for Mildred, mom, to hear it because she paid for my lessons, she paid for my rackets, she paid for my shoes,
Yeah,
which
she
I
wants
went
to be
through.
able to see the results,
Yeah,
tangible results of all her money
yeah,
going.
and so she, and she talked like this because she was from Kentucky, and she says, "Now, baby, I want to know that score." And so I need to hear you tell me that score. And so, I mean, I yelled the score and she always knew what the score was. I mean, it just took 2 tournaments for me to figure this out. And so I just did it. And I tell the kids all the time, see those people that are over there that brought you, that are doing all this, they care. So let's be respectful to mom and dad. And even like when we have breaks, when we go get water, I said, hey, go give mom or dad a hug who brought you here and tell them thank you. And, I'm
Because
trying to build
I
that.
don't know.
Yeah,
Parents need to feel appreciated because they're making
yep,
sacrifices to put their
absolutely.
kid in a tennis class. And um but calling out the score just solves so many
Problems.
problems and avoids
Yep.
confusion. You see so many people and they end up hating their opponent and feeling cheated. And if you had just called the score out from the
Well,
beginning, even when you're on the receiving end, lots of confusion would be avoided. If you just
avoid it.
call it
And
out loudly, like,
yeah, I just say it.
why
And
is it that hard to say the score out when then nobody's confused, nobody's going to argue?
yeah,
Whereas some people refuse to ever call the score out, and then boom, they have no clue what's going on, and
yeah, they have.
you have to get the coaches involved.
Yeah, and it's grisly, and it's like, be loud, be proud. And, even if the score is you're serving and the score is 15-40, say, 15-40, because that might make your opponent nervous because you're confident even with the score 15-40. And I said, just say it. And I talk to my older kids a lot about when somebody makes a call and questions a call of yours. I said, if the ball's out, call it out. I said, if they question your call, this is your line. I said, I spent a lot of time with sports psychologists at UVA when I was growing up to learn this phrase. The ball was out. But the ball was out. That's all you say.
I mean, in a
The
way, you
ball,
don't
don't
want to
engage.
when you say the ball was out, you're saying it's fact, it's definite. You
Yeah,
don't open it up to discussion on, well, I'm pretty like once you express an inch of doubt, you're giving people like an opening to
yeah,
start battling. And you say, well, maybe, maybe not. Or you say things like, it's my call. Like, even saying like it's my
it's
call,
my
you
call.
open
It
it
gives
up
it
to discussion. Like, well, if it's my call,
exactly.
maybe I made a choice to cheat. When you
Yeah,
just say the ball was out,
that's
it's
it.
over. It was
That's
out.
it.
There's no, it's a fact.
Conversation. Yeah, conversation is done. And
Whereas then you say, well, it's my call. And then you say, well, maybe I didn't feel. And I've had so many different experiences in adult tennis and people questioning my calls. And the thing is, I think it gets you more if you are a kid and you're trying to be honest and do the right thing. And then suddenly someone's saying you're not and they're questioning your calls, it's going to get to you more. But people know when they get to you and then it escalates and they do it more. And it's good to just, you're right, state the facts, I think.
state the fact. And that's the fact, Jack, as they would say in stripes. And you just keep it really simple. And I spent a lot of time learning that phrase. The ball was out. That's it.
I mean, and there's, not much people can say. And if you did make a mistake, you can correct yourself, I guess. Like if you discover after that you say, then you just be like, no, sorry, you're right. It's your point. Like if you did
Yeah,
honestly make a mistake, but you don't want to let someone, I think it can get into your head a little where like, if someone keeps questioning your calls, even when balls are landing like a foot out, you're like, well, oh my God, are they going to question my call? Okay, I guess I better call that ball in. Like, you never want to let someone get into your head like that. Like,
exactly.
it's a
Exactly.
real trick of mental tennis that you don't let people get to you. And I don't know, what do you think about the voices in your head where like you're playing a match and you're like, oh, if I beat this person, my ranking goes up, like, or I beat this person, maybe people will think more highly of them. Like, how can people screen that out when they're playing a match, do
I
you
don't
think?
even, it's funny because I haven't played in a long time, like super competitive, but I was always focused on, I was so trained by the sports psychology team at UVA to think of the performance things that I wanted to do, like how was my percentage of first serves when this shot came in practice? I've been working on this shot. You know, did I have the courage to hit that shot? Did I make the right decision? I was focused on those things that, you know, if if I did those things well, my target things, winning and losing takes care of itself. And normally I went on the side that I wanted to be on. And so I was more focused on that. I mean, I've played some matches that I won that I felt I played horrible. And then I've played some matches that I've lost and where the score looked like I lost badly, but I walked off as like, yeah, I feel good. I was able to do this. They were just better
I
at
mean, in a
at
way
these
that
things.
is,
Yeah.
there's more like, I guess, objective performance measures. And if you're, it'll take, like you say, it'll take care of yourself. And maybe you did hit your shots, you had a good first serve percentage, you came to the net on short balls, whatever it is your performance measures you're working on. If you met those performance measures, maybe the person was just that much better than you
Yeah.
at in that match, not necessarily forever. And shifting the focus, I think, can really help. I honestly was on the court before this interview and I was playing with a guy and I was losing. And I was like, you know what, Esther, you have to hit your balls and
Yeah.
hit full out. Don't push, don't take pace off the ball, because that's a bad habit. And once you do that and you can go for his backhand more, maybe the mission is accomplished. Even if he does beat you,
Yeah.
maybe that's it. Maybe it's just about, you know, especially if it's a practice match, just working on different things that you're working on, and eventually the results are going to take care of themselves.
Yeah.
And you
Oh,
always just have,
I agree. And a lot of times when I was in my junior career, it was more about not letting the outside things get into my headspace and just learning to relax and to let it just kind of flow. And the better that I got at that, the better that my results got, and I was happier on the court. And so I tend to not take it, get emotional if I win or lose anymore. I mean, I'm happy if I won, but in general, I'm just happy if I'm playing. So, and this could be anything. It could be a game of Connect Four. It could be doing something crazy with my son. It doesn't
I
really
don't even
matter.
like it if people beat me at darts, to be honest. I'm still mad. Even if someone beats me at darts, or I don't know. I
Yeah.
just don't like it. But
I mean, I don't like it either. I mean, one of my pupils who's 13 years old, I've been helping him with Lisa Dotson's Total Serve, the Serve
yeah,
Master. And he's been working on that, and I got him convinced. I was like, "Luca, if you swing this thing 100 times a day, in 10 days, your serve will be better. Just here's this, just do this 100 times a day. Fine, you don't have to do it all at one time. You can do 50 in the morning, 50 in the evening, doesn't matter. 100 times." I said, "Your serve is going to really improve." He has beefed up his serve so much. We were playing doubles the other day, aced me twice. Ace me
yeah.
twice. Yeah, I mean, hit the crud out of the ball. Ace, I mean, probably added 20, 25 miles an hour more on a serve. I mean, it beefed it up, and his motion is smoother. And I mean, I don't like to be aced, but I was happy that my kid aced me, you know?
Either way, with students, it always is that way. That like
Yeah.
we don't want our students to get anything on us. But if you're in a sense proud, you want them to succeed. You're proud of their accomplishments. Like
Yeah.
if a kid can get ace, yeah, it's like, well, I did something right. That is a pro.
Yeah. I mean, I did
Even
something
though
right. Of
nobody
course.
likes being aced, it's like an ultimate put. It's an ultimate making a fool of yourself if you get
Yeah.
ace.
I mean,
Like
I was fine with it because, one of the balls, he hit it to my forehand and I sliced and diced that thing and it hit and went phew, off like that and went low to his backhand. And he was just like looking at it like, what in the world? And so, I mean, I got him back really good, but it wasn't really about that. I was happy that, he's taken the time, he's put in the effort, and he stepped out of his comfort zone and to work on something, and he's seen the payoff. I mean, love Lisa Dotson for that wonderful device of hers. There's nothing better on the market. And all my kids use that to help reinforce what they're supposed to be doing on their serve. And they you know I really don't mind. It's more about them than it is about me right now anyway. So I just want them to have
I mean,
fun
it
and
has
get
to
better.
be when we're coaching. But what what is serving seems like the hardest thing for a lot of players to master. And what's the way you can help someone with a serve?
Well, it's depending upon what their mistake is. I mean, a lot of people, it's their grip.
Right.
Um, I'm a big fan of Lisa's product. Joe
Which,
Dinifer at On Court Off Court has the racket that locks in your grip on a 23-inch racket,
wow, that is
which
really good.
oh, that thing is awesome too. Um, and it's just, with that, it's the grip. It's it's doing all the things that high school master coach Dave Smith talks about, getting them to dribble the ball really low on the ground, so they get used to that edge. With the rhythm of the serve, I teach the kids whole versus part. So it's a whole motion. Typically, like I might start with contact like this so they know where it is. And then they're doing whole motion, and I'll do it like it's a little bird, and then it's an eagle, and then every kid, you know, they can be 5 years old, and you can say the word pterodactyl, and they all know what a pterodactyl dinosaur is, the flying dinosaur, and they all go really big. It's
Uh,
the funniest thing I've ever seen. Every kid, doesn't matter. We all were into dinosaurs at one. They all know where the pterodactyl is. We go pterodactyl, but we do a lot of overhand serving, and we'll do both arms, doing the motion and doing the pterodactyl, and then we'll get the racket. And my red kids all can serve. They can't even think about moving up to orange until they can get about 75, 80% of their balls serving wise over from the red baseline over to the diagonal box, because I have them play it on the diagonal. So they've got to,
right. I mean, because it's important. That's,
yeah. I mean, if you can't serve, you're at a huge disadvantage. And
I mean, you better know how to serve at some point, but a
yeah,
serving
I mean,
motion,
so I start them off with serving. Big thing of mine. I start them off with serving, because too many people have this big forehand, and then they have this little wimpy little serve, and that's just not going to cut it. And especially girls. And I'm really big on all my kids, especially my girls, having serves and having a good serve, because that can
yeah,
save.
because otherwise you're giving like you're furthering that stereotype that women can't serve. And serves are the one thing that no one can stop you from hitting your best serve, whereas people
Yeah.
could never hit to your forehand if your forehand's great. So you might as well get a good serve. But I think just the motion itself is very different, and that's why it's so tough to master.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because arms are going in different direction. You're
Yeah, and your
releasing the
body
ball,
diving into the
it's
court.
above, yeah, it's above your head, but they're all skills that you can learn. And coaches just have to cut the learning gradient down and break it down so it's manageable. And it's not going to happen overnight. You have to develop these things, but my kids have all become serves, or have all learned how to serve. And I will say, you know, Serve Master really has helped, and that's been the thing to make everything really go in, that they have that practice. Because a lot of them, you know, take, I let them borrow it and take it home, and they'll work on it for weeks at times, and then and just all of a sudden light bulb comes on and they have it because they've practiced. I can give you this tool, but if you don't do it, it once you take it, you're committing to that you're doing this, and they all come back and they all have great serves. So that's
Excellent.
my secret.
And what about like just in general when a kid is starting out, right? They're learning the forehand. What is the most important thing for them to master? What's the most important aspect of the forehand to master? Like contact point, follow through. What's like the thing that holds it all together?
Oh, contact point, and
Contact point.
knowing where to contact the ball. And to me, the follow through is an extension of that contact point. But where's that contact point on your 45? And that's a huge thing to know, and to get the kids understanding that. And from people teach these big backswings, and if the ball that they receive, if it you don't know how much spinners or speeds on the ball until it touches the ground. So if these kids have these big backswings and the speed of the ball's coming at them too fast, they miss the ball. And the kids that I teach have smaller strokes first, and then their strokes get larger and larger, and their backswing is kind of unique to them a little bit. Some have circular backswings, some they all are a little different. Sometimes they all look the same. It depends. But if you know how to find the ball at that contact and finish, then if the ball's slower, you can take a bigger swing. And I see people a lot of times teach these kids these humongous backswings.
Yeah, with the big wind up and stuff,
Yeah,
and
and
they
you're
do
just
like
like,
this, and it's just the loop and it just all seems like a waste of time because you're gonna end up hitting the ball late if you
yeah,
take such a big backswing and you do that loop, and it just seems like then you're gonna end up hitting the ball late, and it's a bad habit, and it's best to keep your ground strokes compact, especially
yeah.
with the pace of the game that it is
Oh
today.
yeah. Oh yeah, even with the slower balls. I mean, a lot of times I'm playing with these kids and I'm hitting the ball deeper in the red court or deeper in the orange court, and they're having to adjust. And it's like a big backswing's not going to help you. Not going to help you here. You know, you're looking for these things, and they have to learn how to adapt and to adjust. And whether it's tennis or life, it's always about adapting and adjusting. So, you
So
know,
are some people just more malleable to adjusting where they're like, okay, I can be flexible, and other people are maybe like more stubborn? Is that what a part of success in the game is?
oh, so you've had a camera in my house and had and filming my son and I from Miss Adjustable to Miss, to Mr. I'm stuck in my ways kind of,
Because
when
it
you
makes me feel like some kids are like, yeah, like
when you're
everybody
22,
is, some people are much more adaptable and
yeah, well,
teachable.
my 22-year-old is like a 95-year-old version of Niles Crane from Frasier. I mean, he's so much like him. It's scary. I've actually a few times called him Niles, and he hasn't even seen the show, but I declare that's what he is. He's just stuck in his ways sometime, and it's trying to get him to open up. And I usually don't as a coach. I think now because maybe I'm a mom and the kids always will say that I'm the most fun, but I'm also the most my expectation, my bar is the highest, and but they rise to that challenge. And because I don't want them to get overly comfortable, my expectation is for them to learn, so they're out of a comfort zone and they're in a learning zone so that they're allowed to make mistakes. But it's like, well, you're here to learn, so you're going to have to adjust because not every ball is going to be perfect. So I can hand toss you the ball or feed you the ball all the time and it's perfect, but that's not how it goes in a match. And in a match, you're constantly adjusting. You're having to move a little bit different, or your contact point, you might be getting there a little late, or you're getting there early and you're trying to, and how are you going to make this adjustment? And so I said, a lot of it is you're doing it on the fly, and you just have to play enough to know.
Right.
You just have to play.
I mean,
And I
that's
said,
really what it is, because the more you play, the more different types of scenarios you get exposed to, the different kinds
yeah,
of balls you're exposed to. And I guess that's what it really is preparation. And like, I remember when I started playing juniors, you know, I didn't know at the beginning, you play against some paces in high school or the kids you take lessons with, and you're comfortable because you're way better than them. And the pace they hit to you is comfortable for you to return. And then you play kids that hit a much harder ball, it has a lot more spin. And then it's just hard because you haven't hit that ball before. So it's like
yeah,
for you to handle it, a lot of adjustments have to be made. So I think just the key to success is getting exposed to different kinds of pieces and spins and all the different kinds of shots so that you're prepared for anything when you play a match.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think is
And
the
with
big thing for kids.
yeah,
I
I
mean,
agree. I agree. And with my older kids, with like starting around green dot and above, we'll talk about different types of players. Are they aggressive baseliner? Are they a counter puncher? Are they an all court player? Or what kind of player are they? So what do these kind of players do well? What do they don't do well? And so I might, or one of my pros might play as that type of player. Okay, well, this is the kind of player that's been giving you a hard time. So let's play this
Yeah.
player. And then sometimes we'll give this player's names like, okay, so I'm Luca today. And here you go, Ava, you're going to play Luca. I'm going to be Luca today. And I'm going to do all the things that Luca does that that you struggle with, so you can start figuring out how are you gonna play this guy? How are you gonna play this? Or, you know, doing those kind of things so that they can solve the riddle. Let's talk it out loud. Talk it out loud. Tell me what you're thinking. Tell me what you're seeing. So
Absolutely.
that they can do that. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's really the big key is that, I think talking it out when the kids are at the lessons or the practice really then helps them in a match know what they have to do. Like,
Yeah.
it isn't a mystery. And once you think about it, you can figure it out. I mean, and I guess like the role of like positive reinforcement and that there is a solution is really empowering. Like, I know as a kid, I totally in some matches got crushed when I was in high school. Like, the area I came from had some nationally ranked top 20 national players. And I know I got totally crushed by them. And I'm not sure. Looking back on it, there were different things I could have done. Like, I'm not sure. They really, a lot of coaches ignore the mental aspect of it. And I feel like that's why I wasn't prepared. Anyway, like, I think just learning to talk it out and empowering yourself to solve problems and realizing that you have the tools is what can really help kids to know that they don't need to like lean on their coach.
Exactly. And I've pulled from a lot of resources from Frank Giampaolo to Dr. Michelle to my good our both of those people are great friends of mine, but from Linda LeClaire, who's my energy coach, and
Right.
helping me understand confidence, not only like how I get in these confidence, how I get in these traps, but how I to recognize it in my kids so I can help them get through that. And that's been a huge help. And then some of my kids just got this APEAK app. I don't know if you've heard of it. I'll
No.
send you a link. It's a sports psychology app that's been developed, and it covers everything. It's $350 and it's worth every penny of it. And it goes through daily. You can go through how you prepare for practice or a match. It has all these things from how you handle windy conditions, the sun, to these different things, how to play different tactical kind of players to it's got meditation stuff on it, which I love because I've been meditating on it in the morning and at night. And
Wow.
it's awesome. And I can't highly recommend it enough because my kids have had it for 2 weeks now. And you can just see the difference in their physicality on the court and how they're handling things. It's a game changer for sure. And so, but that they can do on a daily basis and they can check in on, and it'll ask you a whole bunch of questions. It'll give you, like a starting point on what you need help with.
Sure.
And then it goes from there. And so it puts the power in their hands. And the guy that developed it, a sports psychologist, and the difference between him having a weekly session with kids versus them having the app and doing it daily, the level of improvement was through the roof. And when you can put that power in this generation's hand where they have it on their phone and they can do that and they can control it because they're all like this anyway.
Everybody's on their phones all the time. If you have anything,
Yeah,
it's an
and
app.
they can
It's
do
gonna
it.
say.
And it's amazing. And couple of the kids the changes, and I could tell you which ones have done it, which ones not. And I get the one that's like, have you unloaded it? Because I can tell you that this one has, because I can see blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden they have it. And they're starting to, and so it's really funny, like a change within 2 weeks.
So, what about the role of other sports? Like, how is it beneficial to play other sports, and when should kids specialize?
I think everybody should play multiple sports and just develop as an athlete. Um, one of my girls that I mentioned, Sydney's mom was a track star, heptathlete, and All
Wow.
American. Dad's retired, played it for Kansas City and for New England, and has Super Bowl rings.
Football?
And yeah, for real, and football, and is in the Hall of Fame. And the kid's a great little athlete. She does dance and she does all sorts of things. I have other kids that are skateboarders and very, very good. I have kids that do a lot of things. I have some kids that I have this one little girl, um, I'm saying little girl, she's my size, that has only been playing tennis for a year and a half. And this is during the pandemic. So remember, we were shut down and made the varsity tennis team here in Southern California, made our varsity tennis team. And we all like in practice, we'll throw footballs, we'll dribble, the tennis ball like it's a basketball and develop that. And I think the kids on their own, if you let them play things, and then they'll figure out what they like. And most of the time, honestly, it's about the coach. They will, if they love their coach, if they connect with their coach, then they typically will stay in that. And that's how I ended up in tennis versus I was a swimmer. And I like my tennis coach a lot. I'm still very good friends with him. And I played tennis because he made it fun and it was engaging, and that's why I wanted to play, is because John Morse was really cool and really loving, and and looked out for all of us. So I think that's a big factor. And I by the time I was still playing basketball at 12. I think I gave up basketball probably at 15, and then
It's fair.
tennis after that.
I mean, eventually people are bound to specialize in one sport or another when
Yeah.
they get to their later teens, but there's a lot of transferable skills.
Oh,
And
for sure.
this is also about balance and not getting, I guess, into a rut why you'd want to keep doing other sports. But I can imagine that your coach has a big factor, because if you don't like your coach, you're not going to want to go to class.
Yeah, you're not
Um,
gonna wanna do anything. And the other aspect is, it's funny, I read the stats years ago that the top 3 reasons why kids quit sports are adults, 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 and whether it's the coach or whether it's the parents. And I was lucky. I've always said that I won the Mega Million lottery when it came to parents. I really did.
yeah,
And
it sounds like your parents were really supportive.
oh, they were amazing and fabulous people. And my parents really didn't care which sport I played, just that I did something and that I had something that I was interested in. And I also played guitar and I was really into guitar. And so they didn't, that I had something to do. I was out exercising. They knew where I was, they knew what I was doing. I wasn't out getting into trouble or doing anything that I wasn't supposed to do. I was too busy having fun playing. And so I was in healthy activities, and too many parents look at it and create that job kind of mentality with their kids, and the kids get burned out. I mean, by 15, 16, they're burned out, they're fried, they're done. They hate their sport, they hate their parents, they hate they feel like it's been a job, and people put that pressure on these kids, let them get out of it what they want to get out of it. Some of them just want to play because their friends play. Some of them want that scholarship. That takes a lot more putting into stuff. As long as they know that and that's their decision and their parents can help them with that financially. But when you're spending that, I'll never forget this. This is a funny comment. One of my mom's friends was asking about me, and this is after my dad died, and about what spending so much money on Susan on shoes, because I went through put holes in shoes every like 10 days and stringing rackets about every 3 days and all this. And my mom goes, well, she's she's not hanging out with a guy that she's not supposed to be hanging out with. She's not with drugs or alcohol, and she's not, I know where my daughter is, and this is cheaper than therapy or an attorney.
I mean, it's true that when you think about all the things, it keeps you out of trouble. And when you think about
Yeah.
all the expenses, if your kid is in trouble and you have to hire a lawyer, I don't know,
Or a therapist.
and you have to put them in a rehab place. I mean, you're saving a lot, and it's positive things that are doing. And a lot of kids just get lost and
Yeah.
just, I know people who say that all their kid does is just like stare at their phone or stare at the TV, and the kid has no real interest. And you really, when your kids have something that they're driven to and they love, that's like half the battle, where they have something they can build their life around,
Yeah.
rather than thinking of other things and it becoming a negative influence. That's huge, even if it does mean making some personal sacrifices for the kid.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my mom made lots of sacrifices. And I mean, I was fortunate because I, was helping John on the court. Like I was either like teaching the little kids classes or an adult class. I was the hitting partner for the lesson or picking up balls. That I got all my court time for free, all my lessons and programming and stuff.
Damn.
That helped my mom out that way, that we could spend money on the equipment. But I enjoyed it. And I mean, look where I am today. I mean, how many people can say that they've been doing something, since, you know, 1980 and doing,
Wow.
and
So that's
doing,
40 years.
yeah.
So you've been doing the coaching 40 years, basically.
Yeah. I mean, that's really when I started getting like paid. I mean, before that I wasn't, but I remember when I started getting paid, because that was a big deal.
I mean, it's a huge deal if you get paid for something. And I remember, like, just let's be honest, like tennis is an expensive endeavor. If you really
Yeah.
want to play it to the highest level, you really got to love it. And it is an expensive endeavor, no matter how you slice it. But yeah, I mean, if you can do something you love and get paid for it, and it's enough to, let you live the lifestyle you want, that's huge. And a lot of people, can't say that. Like a lot of people just go to a job that they hate because of the money it pays them, and they hate what they're doing.
Yeah. And I mean,
And
I
when
love what I
you're,
do. I love what I do. I mean, I get up in the morning, somewhere between 5 and 6, and I'm excited. I'm ready to roll. I mean, I'm ready to go. And I can't wait to see the kids. I can't wait to see the parents, the adults that I give lessons to, because it's fun. And, I get to help them realize that they're more than what they think they are. And that's huge. And that they can learn a skill in something that they can play. I mean, I have some kids that I coached that were, you know, top high school players that went on, were D1 athletes and all Americans and all this. And, that they still enjoy playing. One of the girls who didn't play college tennis, who's an attorney here in California. And we go out and we play pickleball, that we still hang out and we'll
it's
still
really
meet.
about lifelong connections.
Yeah. And it's really cool. One of the girls that I coached high school lives down the street from me pretty much, 2-3 miles from me. She's an anesthesiologist and plays, and she had called me up asking me questions about her kids playing. And, uh, maybe, I should probably have you look at them. And I remember you teaching me this, and I saw this the other day with what the coach was doing. I wasn't a fan of this. And so, I wanted to talk to you about, and that I can have those kind of connections with these girls that I coached high school tennis, and that what kind of adults that they've turned out to be. That's like, wow, that I might have
It's
had.
really great to see the lasting impact, for sure.
Yeah. It's a nice thing.
All
Yeah.
right. So we're going to have to wrap it up soon, but is there anything else you want to add for young kids starting the game, and what they should think about or focus on if you're a young kid starting to get into the game?
Just have fun, laugh a lot.
Okay.
Have fun and laugh a lot. Play music, have a dance party, My
Oh,
kids and I, they hit a shot and we just break it down and we're just dancing. And, just enjoy it. Enjoy the ride. And I would tell the parents the same thing. Encourage your kids. Enjoy the ride. I love it. One of the things that we do in our program, which is very different than a lot of programs, is when I'm doing the younger kids, the red and the orange, a lot of the green dot parents and yellow kids are playing. And then when the switch happens, I leave up the mini red nets and the parents are down hitting with their kids. And it's a family atmosphere. And then some of the adults of the older kids are out hitting on their own. And I have that court space, so I can do that. But it's fun to see
yeah.
everybody enjoying playing the game. And that to me is the fun of it. Have fun, play the game, have a good time, laugh, play music.
Awesome. And if
Fun.
people want to find you and hear more about you, how can they find
I'm easy to find on Facebook.
you?
I
Just your
think there's
name,
maybe,
Susan Nardi.
yeah,
That's
Nardi. On Instagram as Suz Nardi Tennis 10S. You can look at firstbreakacademy.com.
nice.
I'm
So if
there.
they're in SoCal, that's where they're gonna go. First Break Academy.
That's
If anyone lives in SoCal.
I'm a SoCal girl. I'm an East Coaster that became a California girl.
Nice. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't even know why everybody doesn't go to SoCal given the beautiful weather for tennis, given
Well,
what
it
a
was
rough
80
winter we had.
it was 80 degrees today. It has been cold, but today it was 80 degrees, not a stitch of humidity. It was gorgeous. That's why I have sun on my face. It was
Awesome.
gorgeous. I was
Well, it's
outside.
only starting to get nice here in New York. February was pretty tough. March has been better.
Yeah, March was rainy here. We've had a lot more rain, but it's beautiful. It's green. Yeah,
Awesome. Well,
yeah.
I'll have to get out there. And thank you so much for doing this.
You are very welcome. You stay out of trouble there in New York.
I will definitely try.
Okay. You take
Enjoy
care.
the
Thanks
rest
for
of your
having
day.
me on. I appreciate it.
No, of course. This has been great. Have a good night.
You too. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.